One of the toughest challenges an athlete can endure is walking onto a team, and times that by 20 when it's a Power 4 program like Virginia Tech. To take a closer look into that challenge, I sat down with Layman and Marcello Lopez, two players on opposite ends of the ball and from opposite ends of the continent. But the physical and mental hardships they both endured led them to a second chance at chasing their dreams right here in Blacksburg. Some of the greatest moments in all of sports are comeback stories.
Patriots win the Super Bowl!
They bring out the rawest emotions, the highest of highs from the lowest of lows. Each story creating a moment unique to every individual. But sometimes the ending of those tales find a way of repeating themselves and end up bringing some of these stories together.
Second game of senior year, we were playing Manchester, which is one of the hardest teams in the state of Virginia. And we were getting beat, but we were down only one touchdown with a minute left in the third quarter. And I realized in my mind, like, man, seeing this team come together, all 11 players playing together as one and holding our own against a top 10 team in the state, it ignited something.
Layman wasn't always focused on football in high school, but his lone season as a starter during his senior year made him realize just how far the gridiron could take him. At his senior all-star game, he would impress coaches from the Richmond Spiders. Not too long after that, the state capitol became his new home. But the acclimation to the Spiders wouldn't come easy. He had a long way to go before seeing the field as a starter, but also had the belief from coaches and himself that he could climb the ladder.
Going on the field for the first time, the first thing I could really say is speed. It is a whole new level. 5-yard out routes getting undercut by safeties was a brand new ball game. It requires a whole new depth of knowledge and understanding of the game, which was hard to adapt to at first. So riding the bench and taking my time learning the playbook inside and out and really being coach's eyes on the field is nothing new to me.
Layman worked his entire life to be in the position that he was in at Richmond. This was his ticket to fulfilling his dreams and developing into a starting quarterback at the Division I level. But amidst that hope wasn't doubt or discouragement, it was disconnection, one that only his faith could open his eyes to.
At the beginning of the spring semester, I heard a voice saying, "Where have you gone?" And it hit me that while yes, I had been pursuing that as much as I wanted to, I had not been having the community that I wanted to. I have not been being able to go to church stress-free. Like, I was racing back. I wasn't able to join any groups because I just had to get to my next lift. I had to get to my next workout. And it was hard. It was hard. It left me feeling very incomplete. Even though I loved the football, it was everything I had dreamed it to be at the college level. The rest of my life was lacking. And football is not worth the rest of my life.
Football had become an idol for Layman. His life across campus, his school, and his faith all felt secondary to aspirations he held for a lifetime that all of a sudden felt empty. Layman knew an absence from football was necessary, but it remained the hardest decision of his life.
When I realized that I needed football is when I realized it was taking away more than it was giving. Yeah, when I made the decision, I cried for 2 weeks. It was a hard time. It wasn't something I did lightly. I waited months even after hearing that voice before I decided to finally go through with it. And I'm very thankful. The players on the team were gracious. They still saw me across school and said hi, and they made it doable. Not easy, but doable.
With football out of the picture, Layman transferred to Virginia Tech to redirect his focus on becoming an engineer. He started to build a community in Blacksburg that he didn't have in Richmond. He formed a strong bond with the people he met at church. He was more motivated than ever with his academics, and most importantly, Layman was at peace with his faith. But the tide soon began to turn for Layman. At the start of the spring semester, the same voice that guided him away from football was calling him back. Do you still hear that voice? Have you heard it at all since you've come to Tech?
I hear it more so each and every day. Me and my God, we have a relationship, and it's something that would not have been able to say I was this close if I stayed at Richmond. So I do hear that voice.
With a revamped approach to the sport, his sights were set on returning to the gridiron as a walk-on. But he wasn't the only Hokie hopeful that was eyeing an improbable comeback.
It's hard to leave everything you know and love, your language, your culture, just for, some would say, a very simple dream. But for me, it was my everything to even go to the U.S. and play.
Marcelo Lopez fell in love with football back in his home country of Mexico. Despite decreased popularity south of the border, it didn't take away from his family's love for the game. His father and grandfather played in local clubs as children, but Marcelo was the first to take the Lopez name to the United States.
One of my coaches back then told me to literally just apply. He was like, dude, it's a great school. It's a great fit for you. You have the grades, you have all the talent. You should just go ahead and apply. You didn't lose anything, which was what I did.
IMG Academy is one of the most notable brands in all of athletics, especially for football. A high rate of their athletes go on to play at the Division I level, so making it into the program signifies a high level of talent and dedication, a level of competition that was unlike anything Lopez experienced back in Mexico.
They have a standard, and if you don't comply with that standard, you're pretty much left behind. So when you go there, you have to know what you're signing up for. That's what I wanted.
But Lopez acclimated quickly with the IMG culture. He played his way into the starting lineup as the season progressed. Though he was just there for less than a year, the bonds he formed will last a lifetime.
It was a brotherhood. One of the core values of IMG is brotherhood, which is something that I value a lot in my life.
IMG's post-grad team was gaining momentum towards the back end of their campaign. Once the postseason arrived, Lopez and the Ascenders had their sights set on gold. But with the shot at the MPGAA championship game on the line, Lopez felt something was off.
So at the very start, the field was already in the worst conditions as possible. So since the very warm-up, I felt like something was wrong whenever I was like jumping and then landing, because my knee was starting to like wobble a little bit. I was like, this feels like really odd, but I'd never had something ever, so I just kind of like shrugged it off, you know.
Bad feelings aside, Lopez progressed through the day as usual. The Ascenders were making a charge for their second straight national championship appearance. But it turns out, Lopez's worries weren't unwarranted.
The moment that I step in, like, it got stuck in the ground, completely stuck, like glued in, but my knee was still moving. So it completely snapped. I felt a pop in my left ear, I remember quite well, and I felt like the worst pain, sharpest pain in my life, right like below my knee. That was it. I was out.
Just one game away from hoisting the trophy, Lopez was looking down the barrel of a sudden ending. Or at least, that's what he thought.
There was almost no symptoms of like a tore ACL or meniscus. Like an incredible rare case that my doctors told me that I'm very tolerable to pain. So they were like, yeah, that was the case for you. I went out in the final, I played the final, we won. I didn't feel anything.
Lopez exited his season as a national champion. An impossible set of circumstances highlighted the exemplary work he put in throughout the year. He took home Most Improved Defensive Player honors and lived out dreams the Lopez family has had for decades. But once he returned home, the same scare peeked its head again.
I was doing like a gym workout, you know, some box jumps. Out of a sudden, I stand in the box. Same thing happens. My knee just goes left. My foot is locked in the floor. It happens the exact same thing. So I was like, this is not normal. So when I checked, yeah, everything gone.
Doctors had confirmed the worst, a torn ACL and meniscus. Lopez would end up sidelined for over a year. In a matter of moments, he went from celebrating gold with IMG to wondering if he'd ever be able to play the game that he loved the same. A new face in Blacksburg had revamped the outlook of Virginia Tech football. James Franklin had built a strong team throughout the offseason, but was still looking to add 2 more players in the spring. The team began promoting walk-on tryouts, drawing the interest of both Layman and Lopez.
It's a golden opportunity. I would say it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to be part of a school, be healthy, and be able to even try out in general. They're just blessings, you know, it's an opportunity.
I love having a structured life, a rigid life, as some would say. And it's not for everybody, but I perform better when I'm like told what to do, like a soldier, you know? And I feel like I could be a soldier in the army of Coach Franklin.
This isn't just a tryout. It's a gamble, one that is only paid off when the cleats are laced up here in one of the meccas of college football.
Film studying and going back through and watching my own game tape and trying to see what I can correct about my throw, about my decisions, that is something that I missed. I hold myself to a high standard, so going back through and nitpicking myself was honestly a lot of fun.
I was back, you know, felt like I was back in IMG. I felt like I was with my friends again. Like it was just like wow, I gotta like study this, I gotta do that, I gotta practice this. I felt like it felt so nostalgic to actually be back and grind for this, the one thing that I really loved and I was passionate for. So 100% it was just nostalgic. I felt like I was back in business. I felt like I was ready, you know.
Sadly, their comebacks don't end here. Lopez and Layman came just short of making the roster. After a semester of training and relearning the game, a dream that was once distant remained just out of reach. But as this chapter closes, a new one awaits in the fall. They're more motivated than ever to don the maroon and orange for good and play on one of the grandest stages in all of college football. Layman and Lopez don't know where their stories will lead them, but they do have control of their own destiny. And come fall, they'll aim to complete a comeback story for everyone to bear witness to.
Wow. It's a dream, man. I didn't think in my 3 years here, I would ever be able to stand on the field, so it's insane.
I mean, just imagining this place filled to the brim, student support, place erupting after every pass. That's what it's all for, man. Glory to God and give the fans something to cheer for.
Reporting in Blacksburg, I'm Brett Holmes.